Welcome to a series audit video. I have been really working on reading down the amount of series that I'm reading at one time because in the past few years I have found that I much prefer to read a series closer together, like within a year or two, depending on how long the series is. And I don't love having lots of time in between the additions to those series. So I thought I would take you on a little trip with me to see all the series that I'm working on, what my progress has been like for them, and just talk about where we're at and how I'm feeling with it. We're going to start with series that I started before 2025. And I don't have a lot of them, which is amazing. So I think the oldest series that I started the longest time ago is the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I have 2 left, and then Diana is writing the final book, so 3 will be in total, but I have 2 left that are published. These are very chunky historical fantasy romance novels. I recently reread the one that took place before this one because it had been something like 10, 12 years since I had read it. So it had been way too long for me to remember what was happening in the story. So I need to read this one and then the sequel, Go Tell the Bees I'm Home, which will get me caught up to this series, and then she'll be writing the 10th and final one in the next few years. It takes her a while to get the books out, but she is hoping to release it in the next couple years. So I want to get to this one this year. I'm really hoping to. This would be one of my goals for this year, is to hopefully finish off the 2 that are published. Even though they're long, I enjoy them a whole lot, and I'm very eager to see where the series is going to go, because now I haven't read this one or the following one. So that's my oldest. Another one that I've started quite a while ago, and I'm still working on, is the 6 Stories series by Matt Wesolowski. I have 2 books left. I have Deity and then Demon, or Demon and Deity. I can't remember which way they go at this point. But this series is a horror, sort of thriller, paranormal series. It's all about this podcast called 6 Stories that this man, Scott King, runs. And in each episode of the podcast is like one story, and there are always 6 stories centered around a central story. So this will have like 6 of the episodes, 6 of the stories, and then there are 6 books in total, kind of rounding out the whole series. There is a slight through line between all the books because you are following the same podcaster who does kind of talk a little bit. These are written in podcast form. I love the way they're written, and I just find them so compelling. They talk a lot about like urban legends and kind of dive into like mysteries involving like urban legends and things like that. And I just think they're so fun. They're short. They're easy to read. Being in podcast form, I think Matt Wesolowski does an amazing job writing it so it reads like you're listening to a podcast. I think they're so much fun. These are the final 2 in the series that I need to finish, and another series I'm hoping to finish this year. Then I have the Silo trilogy by Hugh Howey. I read the first one like in September of 2024, and I have 2 left. I just started the other day, barely started Shift. I got like 20 pages in or something like that. 16 pages in, 1 chapter and a prologue. But I am really enjoying this series. I think Hugh Howey is a great writer. He writes fascinating topics. This so far is a prequel to Wool, which is the first book. And normally I don't like prequels, but after reading Wool, I was very excited to go, how did we get to where we are in Wool? So I'm really enjoying this, and I think this is going to be a fascinating read. And then I can follow it up with Dust, which is the final book. So I'm very excited to read these. They look really chunky, but the pages are actually quite thick, so they're not going to be that difficult to read. And I think I'm going to have a really good time with them. Like I said, I started this one, and hopefully I'll shortly follow it up with this one. The last series that I'm going to talk about that I've started before 2024 is one that I'm not planning to finish this year, and that's Vinland Saga. This is by Makoto Yukimura. This is a graphic novel series based on like Vikings. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I'd heard quite a few recommendations from people that this was really good, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I actually really enjoyed it. I read the first 2 volumes, and these are like 2-in-1 bind-ups. I read the first 2 volumes last year during Wonderthon in June, and I might pick this up during Wonderthon. It has been a while since I read it, so I hope I haven't left it too long. But I'm planning to make my way through this. There are quite a few of these 2-in-1 volumes, so I'm not in a rush to like cram it in this year, but just make some progress in it. And then 2 series that I'm working on, but I'm not necessarily needing to finish this year, is I'm doing a reread of the Redwall series by Brian Jack. And I'm on, I believe this is the 5th or 6th book. This is book number 5, and I am just taking my time through this series. This is a favorite childhood series for me. I love Redwall Abbey and all the stories surrounding it and that world, and I'm just kind of picking up one every once in a while. There's like 22 books in the series, and so I don't want to like force myself to like rush through it. I'm just taking my time with it. Same thing with the Discworld series. I read, my first Discworld book was The We Free Men, which is part of the Tiffany Aching series. And that was, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 years ago. I want to continue on with the Tiffany Aching series and then pick another series to start. There's a few that I'm thinking about, and I'm not really in a rush to read those right now. I was kind of working on finishing some of my smaller series that have been running for a long time, and then I'll kind of jump back into Discworld. So I'm not too worried about that, but that is kind of on the horizon of series I'm working on. Then, as part of a May project, which you will not have seen yet, but you will be seeing in the next couple weeks, I have been starting a book every day in May, and some of those books have been starts to series, and so I wanted to take you through what those are. So the first one is Flesh and Spirit by Carol Berg. This is part of a duology about like this fantasy cartographer. I am 12 pages into this one, enjoying the prose, and I do own this sequel, so it would be kind of nice if I do enjoy this to then pick up the sequel right after it. I have started and gotten 30 pages into The Broken Crown by Michelle West. This is a epic fantasy novel. There's like 6 books in the series that are all quite chunky, but this is one of my favorite starts to a fantasy book I've read in a really long time. I feel like as I was reading it, I didn't want to stop, and I wanted to know more about the world and the characters and what was going on. And so I'm really excited to be starting this one. I own the second one, but I don't own any of the others in the series. So I'm not going to order any more until I read those 2, because sometimes the older fantasies, they can really drop off for me. They get a little boring sometimes, so I don't want to commit to like buying all the books just to have to get rid of them, because I've done that too much in the past, And this year I've really been trying older series, and I've gotten rid of a lot of books that I haven't read because I haven't liked them. So I'm trying to really take my time with this. There's no rush in needing to buy them right now. I'm going to try this one and the next one and then see if I like it from there. I have started the first book in the Long Price Quartet. I don't have the dust jacket on, but this is Shadow in Summer. This is a bind-up of the first 2 books in the series, and I have to say this is the opposite of this. I could not have cared less about what was going on in the first 15 to 20 pages of this. I really struggled to care, and that has made me question whether or not I'm going to like this series. And so I think I'm going to try to keep reading a little bit more, but I could see this being a DNF. I've heard so many good things about Daniel Abraham's writing and this book, but I have to say I've really struggled with Daniel Abraham in the past, and I had bought this before I had tried some of his other books, so I own this and then the other 2 in this series as well and another bind-up, so I'm not sure about this one. Not sure. And then I've started Retribution Falls by Chris Wooding. I own the Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, as well as the second book in this trilogy, which was an accidental buy. I'd meant to buy the first one, but I bought the second one on accident. I think sometimes they were published with this one being first, and then the Tales of the Black Lung Captain is written second, but for some reason, here, it'll say that the Black Lung Captain is first and then Retribution Falls is second, but this was written in 2009 and the other one was written in 2010, so I'm not sure why they printed it that way. We'll find out when I read the Black Lung Captain if I get to it, but I started this one. Again, I got a chapter in. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It felt very, hijinksy. The characters felt very, sarcastic and witty and kind of fun. So I was just having a really good time with it, and I think I will really try to focus on reading this one. It needs to go back in June. I've had it out from the library, and I'm out of renewals. So I need to read this and try to finish it before June, and then if I like it, I can continue on to the second one. And then a big series that I started this year that I am going to be attempting to finish in 2025 is the Shattered Sands series by Bradley P. Bolio. And this is the second book I need to read, and then 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then 6th. I've read only the first one. I enjoyed it. It was like a 4-star fantasy. It felt very fantastical, though I will say the ending was a little lackluster for me in the first book, so I'm hoping that it improves in the second book. Something the author mentioned was that this was a very big undertaking that he had taken on compared to some of his other works, and so it kind of read to me that way, that the farther along we went in the book, the bigger the world got, the bigger stakes got, the less punchy everything felt when we were just having a good time discovering the world and the magic. It all felt very fun and interesting, and it got less so as we went on. But I have high hopes that he will improve throughout the series. If not, I won't be finishing it, but I'm going to do my best to finish this series and finish it in this year, because my goal kind of moving forward is to tackle one big fantasy series every year, and this is the one I want to read. Next year, it might be Realm of the Elderlings, and I might try to read them all in one year, I'm not sure, or the Dragonbone Chair and all the Austen Ard books. Those are a couple that I'm thinking of, so I'd like to get this one read. That way I can start thinking about ones that I want to read in the future. These are all the series that I have started. It's a lot. I am sure I will not continue on with some of them the farther I get. Sometimes interest in a series just drops off, and some of them I'm pretty sure I will finish like the 6 stories books I love. I will finish those. And I'm happy that my series are so low right now, though with the additions of all the ones that I've started in 2025, particularly in May, I have a lot more on the go than I would hope to, so I'm going to try to read them down. I want to count them real quick. I'm not going to count the graphic novel series just because I don't really feel pressured by graphic novel series that much, so I'm going to count everything else, see how many I have ongoing. Okay, if I counted correctly, I think I have 10 series ongoing right now. That includes all the ones I've started so far in May and all my backlist ones. That feels pretty good. Some of them are like big and chunky, so it's going to take a while to read them, but I feel pretty good about only having 10 series on the go. I would like to shrink that a little bit, which I am planning to do in the near future, but I feel really good about all this work I've done to kind of limit the amount of series I'm starting and trying to make an effort to finish them in a quick timeline. Because I don't really mind if I read 20 series in a year, that's fine with me. I just don't want to read one book in 2025 and then not get to the second book until 3 years later and have forgotten and not enjoy what there is left. So I'm feeling good about this. I feel like I can tackle this and make good progress even as I'm starting new series. And yeah, I'm just having a great time with it. Let me know how many series you are in the middle of if you feel like counting. Otherwise, let me know if you love any of these books, if you've read any of them, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!